dogs go out recently?
They did not, but we're live. They'll start barking, and you know, that's what they do. They do it.
They're
They
looking
bark.
at me already. They know.
They know.
What's the theme? What's playing?
The theme. Gage is already there. Gage is here. We got Gage. Here, I'll greet everyone. You go let Pippin. Of course, Pippin has to go out as soon as
Never
the thing
fails.
starts.
Come on, dogs. Come on, guys. Come on.
It's time for Drawn to Fantasy. I'm your host, Tony D. I don't know if you can hear the music. It's almost got a solemn kind of little drummer boy vibe to it. Anyway, I hope you guys are doing well. And we're just going to hang for a minute. Andrew, let's go let the dogs out. Because, of course, they hear the music and they know. Just like you guys. They're, you know, we're drawn to fantasy. They're drawn to the backyard to relieve themselves. Anyway, I hope everyone's doing well. Hi, Emily. I see you popped up. Hope you guys are hanging in there and staying warm. And Michael Harbor and Tamisha and so many other people. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to Drawn to Fantasy. I'm your host, Tony DiTerlizzi. That's my podcast voice. Andrew will be here momentarily. It's a very special episode. I'm super excited today. This is the first of what I hope might be a series that we could do from time to time. Something I've been wanting to do. It's less about drawing and more about sharing. We're going to do today kind of a deep dive into my 2018 picture book, Christmas themed picture book, The Broken Ornament. And, you know, one of the things I think about when I look at other artists and authors that I admire is the process. I love process, even with movies and television shows and all that stuff. Angie and I have been watching the movies that made us. They did a couple Christmas ones that came out on Netflix. They're pretty amazing. And I love process. I love how someone, you know, came up with an idea and implemented that idea and the trials and tribulations that went to get to that idea and the execution of it to the final product, whether it's a film or a book or a video game. And so The Broken Ornament, I felt, was obviously seasonally appropriate. We weren't going to do it back in the spring. I think Christmas was the last thing on our minds, but I thought this seemed like a perfect time to do it. So before we dive into our deep dive, I want to welcome my effervescent and unbelievable host, best friend, and wife, Angela DiTerlizzi. How are you?
I'm dog catcher because Pippin just decided to go for a little run. You didn't see me run by the side of the window here?
No, but that seems par for the course. Just take off. You okay? And you got your cardio in.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's always good. That's good. So we're here. They know we're going to do a deep dive into The Broken Ornament.
Awesome.
Before we get to The Broken Ornament, how are you doing?
I'm doing okay. I'm doing
right?
good. I'm hanging in there.
Yeah.
We recently had a dear friend diagnosed with COVID, not somebody we had contact with. So I just did a quick little stop at the market and picked up a few things for them so they wouldn't have to worry about cooking for themselves.
That's awesome.
And dropped off a little a care package of items.
You're so good like that, Ange.
I just
You literally.
ran
walked
in
in.
the door.
Yeah.
I ran in the door and ran up.
Ran down. I had everything set up, ready to go. And then no sooner than Pippin says, Mommy, I got to go to the bathroom. Before we get started on the Broken Ornament deep dive, you gave the fans to Fantasy some homework, Ange.
I did. My thought was in, all things magical, fantastical, and holiday is that you could draw a holiday inspired creature.
Right.
Magical creature.
So I grabbed a few to share. I think if you're not in the fantasy fan group on Facebook, you might enjoy seeing some of these. So this is John O'Connor's Snowman. I love this.
That is so good.
I love it. I love the mismatched eyeballs. I love the fangy teeth. That's a good one. Nice texture too, John. Really nice piece. That was fun. Just a little doodle, but I think he did a really bang up job.
Really good. And I also think like the creepy, is it like the teeth, the fang? Like
yeah, I think they're like icicle. Did you see how I did that? Did you see how I just went to do that? There it is. That's where my brain end now is. Wrong surface. But yes, I love the icicle teeth.
And creepy claw-like hands.
Creepy claws. That's definitely one that's coming to life. Our very own Emily C. Martin, who created the Fans of Fantasy, did an unbelievable ink drawing of Krampus. Like this is someone awesome. Just hire her, please. I mean, come on. This is just beautiful, beautiful pen and ink work. Really so impressive. Good. Really, really
great knowledge
terrific.
Of anatomy too.
Unbelievable. Nice execution. Almost got an old school D&D vibe. I don't know if that's intentional, but I'm getting Dave Trampier vibes big time on this, all over this. So I don't
even on the chain and stuff.
Yeah,
like your link
distance, really
like
nice. Don't know if this was traditional or I'm gonna guess it was, or digital, but really nice piece. Really nice piece. Well done. Here's another one. I liked this one a lot. So much so that I fired up the old color printer for it, Ange.
Nice.
First of all, I love different traditions, not just snowmen and Santa Claus and Krampus. These are Tamales by Heather Feeney. I hope I'm saying your name right, Heather. I love these. I'm going to call them the Tamale Sisters. I think she probably had a name for them, but I didn't write it down. But I
love it.
Absolutely love it. One of my best friends growing up was from not Mexico, but from Puerto Rico, because we lived down in Florida. And one of our favorite things is eating with his family, because the food, we're huge fans of Mexican and Latina food. So when I saw these, I immediately got excited and drooled.
Hungry.
And I drooled a little bit. Yeah, I was going to say, I drooled a little bit. So there's that one. I thought that was pretty cool.
We actually have an awesome El Salvadorian restaurant down the street from us, and they make tamales, actually, and they're amazing.
Yes. Here's another amazing color one by Caroline Fairbairn. I hope I'm saying that right, Caroline. Beautiful Krampus. Well done. I'm getting Trina Shart-Hyman vibes, Ange, off of this one.
Yes, I can see that.
Seeing a little bit of Trina. If you don't know who Trina Shart-Hyman is, Caroline, you should look her up. She was an amazing illustrator, won the Caldecott Medal. And kind of my favorite tidbit of Trina Shart was the art director for Cricket Magazine. So she did all the cool bugs and Cricket. Anyway.
Heather Feeney says, thank you. And she's from New Mexico.
Nice. A beautiful place. We've been to Santa Fe. So there's Caroline's Krampus. The last one I really give a lot of points to and really loved. This is Chad, I'm going to try to say this right. Ruski? It sounds Polish. I could be wrong. Anyway, Chad, it's unbelievable. It's like a Gollum-y type Christmas monster that Tim Burton or myself would be very proud of. I could see this in Nightmare Before Christmas.
Kind of beholdery.
It's got a lot of my favorite things going on, including its tongue is a extension cord. Its teeth are ornamental lights. This is just awesome and imagine. I love.
Little gingerbread man.
Look at that. That's your life. You're just carrying around the deity, the Christmas deity. I absolutely love this thing, Chad. It's amazing and hilarious. And it brought to mind a funny little story. Many years ago, I was asked by Wizards of the Coast to create their holiday card. I don't know if you remember that story, Ange. The art director contacted me to illustrate the Wizards of the Coast holiday card. Arnie Sweckel's now watching, so he'll appreciate this story. How you doing, Arnie? So they wanted a Fruitcake Elemental.
Yes, I do remember.
They wanted a Fruitcake Elemental. And it's all I heard was the word Fruitcake Elemental, and off I went and sketched. I didn't read the description. I didn't read anything else. All I literally read was the word Fruitcake Elemental, and I produced this. This is back in 2006. Notice I'm showing you a sketch and not a finished painting. But I love it because there's we're thinking a lot alike, Chad. So I did this Fruitcake Elemental. He has dried cherries for eyes. He has candy cane shards for teeth. Holly leaf ears in a snowflake tin. It won't die. It won't die. And
As
fruitcakes never die. And the art director contacted me and said, Tony, you didn't read the art order, did you? And I said, no. And he said, this is literally the thing we did not want. They wanted it like really serious. They literally wanted like a hulking, like Hulk, like literally Hulk. But he happened to be, you know, made with dried cherries and fruit. And I'm like, oh, I'm not your guy.
Like
No, you got the wrong guy. I'll paint this thing all day long. But Hulk's not my jam. So anyway, there you go. I thought you guys would appreciate that. A little fun from 2006.
On his, by the way, just notice the eyes are ornaments.
The eyes are ornament. There's a lot. Look at this guy.
Tree on his head.
He's got it. It's all the things. It really is, Chad. It's awesome. I love it. So you guys did terrific. If I didn't showcase your piece, I'm sorry. That doesn't mean I didn't love it. I just, you know, we got a lot to cover today.
And we're going to put up our own tree today, finally.
Finally.
Which I'm usually, just a heads up, I'm usually the person that has the tree up by Thanksgiving.
Yes. Well, that's funny. You should mention that. Keep talking, Ann.
But, you know, since we are 2020 COVID times, I'm not holding myself to the same expectations as I would normally. So guess what? We don't have our tree up yet, but hopefully it will be up tonight. And of course, being that we are in the Christmas spirit, talking about the Broken Ornament, the timing works out wonderfully.
I can actually tell you generally when you do put the tree. In fact, I know when we put the tree up back in 2015. This is a snapshot of Facebook. So if you've been to my Facebook page, and chances are you have because you're here now, and if you've been a long-time fan, you may actually remember this. It's not often that I have the exact moment that an idea for a story is chronicled to the day. But here it is. I printed it out. This is the post every time on November 22nd, 2015. So this is definitely before Halloween.
Or before Thanksgiving.
I mean, before Thanksgiving.
Although I would like to get it up before Halloween as well. I mean, I
let's
love Christmas.
Let's just get it done early. I had written, every time an ornament breaks, a winter fairy is released from within and grants a child's wish. At least that's what I told my daughter when she felt bad about dropping it. And then we have a little edit that I added afterwards after people started to respond, because let me tell you how many people responded. This was a while ago. Almost nearly 250,000 people saw this. 1,300 liked it. 192 shared it. And there were loads of comments, people talking about it. Now, that doesn't... do I look at these things? Yes, I do from time to time. Does it matter with me? Sometimes it does. Sometimes it doesn't. It really depends on what it is. I'm not addicted to likes and stuff. But the reason this had a huge impact, as Ange will tell you, is when this event happened, I didn't think about it, right? Sophia, we had the music playing. We had Charlie Brown Christmas playing, actually, I remember specifically, and John Denver and the Muppets. It was one of those two was playing. And you had just bought these. These were from Target. This is not a heirloom or any kind of special ornament. It's just brand new ornaments from a bin. Sophia was lacing the hooks in them and handing them to us. I remember this. So 2015, Sophia would have been 8? 7, 8?
5 years ago, so yeah.
Yeah, 8. So she was 8 years old, 3rd grade. And when this broke and it slipped, she really did do the shoulder hunch. I'm sure you guys have seen your kids do it or you've done it yourself. And I immediately thought of my dad, who had more Italian blood in him than I do, who would have been like, hey, come on.
Pay attention.
Pay attention. Those things cost money. And instead I took a breath and said what I said. And then posted it. I thought there was a chaotic beauty, artistic beauty in this broken thing, and it was such an image we'd all seen. And you knew right away this was a book.
Yes.
You knew right away.
Well, because, I mean, we love all of the traditions, the traditional stories, the traditional iconic figures of the holidays. And so when you were like, Christmas fairy is born. It reminded me of the moment, actually, in It's a Wonderful Life, which we always say, like, every time a bell rings, an angel gets its wings.
Oh,
it reminded me of that moment.
Now, I want to go back a little. I want to lay a little groundwork, because I've tried to think about this a little bit. I want to go back. We showed this the last time we talked to you guys about ornaments. This was our holiday card. This one's from 2013. So I'm thinking there's a proto-tinsel there that probably happened. Absolutely. So it was on our mind about an elf or a fairy. I was definitely thinking of the old traditional Christmas and that there's elves and there's enchanted reindeer and magic and stuff. So I definitely think that this probably had a part of it.
It's not a far leap to think that you would think of anything to do with a fairy.
That's true. But I want to go back to 2015 just for a beat before we dig in on this, because I think it's interesting for people to understand where I was mentally. So 2014 was the year I finished the Wandla trilogy, which was exhausting. I loved every minute of it, but between writing and illustrating and then going on extensive tours, I was fried. One of the projects I took after, I did 2 books. I did the Star Wars book,
Yes.
while John Lind was slowly beginning to lay out the Realms book, but then I took this book with Mo Willems. Devon Fleet had come out that year, and all through that, I was also working on a picture book that has still yet to be done. I had an idea for a picture book that was really a good idea, but nothing more, and I was really struggling with it. I'd spent a better part of the year kind of working on that in between these projects, and just couldn't quite figure it out. But when this happened, it really was like a gift. It was almost like I was thinking too hard. And when I didn't think and let instinct and guts take over, I got better. So this is November 22nd. I have not opened this in a very long time. This is my moleskin. And I just want to see, this is November 30th. So it took...
I remember.
It took 6 days.
I remember being like, when it happened, you said it to so I was sitting there. It was like watching a movie just play out in front of me, and I was like, Tony, that's your next book. And you were like, no. Let's get back to our hot cocoa. Let's get back to our John Denver.
Yeah.
Let's decorate the tree.
I've got the other book to worry about. That's my book.
And you've got the other book to worry about.
Yeah.
And then I remember the next day.
In the bathroom, brushing our teeth.
And we chatted about it, and you were like, no. You denied the call again.
I did.
That's what the hero always does.
Denies
right?
the call.
And then the next day, you were like, well, if I was thinking about that as a book.
Maybe. And then this is how at this point though, there's this commitment. This means I've probably written on some loose bits of paper, because if I'm starting a moleskin dedicated to the book, that means I'm in. So I won't go through this entire thing, but it does have some fun, really early thoughts about the book. This proved to be one of the toughest books I've ever created. I think because Christmas means so many different things to so many of us. We have a lot of, it's different when we're children, it's different when we're adults, it's different when we're parents, it's different when we're missing our parents, and it's certainly, in a year like this year, it's going to be yet another version of the holiday. So these are literally December 1st. Let's see if we can find out anything that's exactly to the day. But you can see these are early. The kid started as a version of me. This is me. So I did this on 12/15. So close. This is 12/1, 12/2. I must have bounced around. So you can see this was like, let's make him a hipper version of Tony. 12/3. I kept seeing a kid in a sweater. This is, okay, so FedEx John. Or Ange. Sorry.
Yes.
Our FedEx guy.
Wait, does he know that?
I don't know if he knows this.
Is he on?
I don't know if he's on. So our FedEx delivery guy for many years, his name was John, and we got to know him on a first name basis. We became very close with him because he was here for many years, at least once a week, and we'd have him come in. He'd come down to the studio, see what was going on, and his kids, he's a terrific father. His kids love books and reading, and in fact, I hear it's one of his kids' birthdays today.
Yes,
that's right.
Absolutely. It's
Whose birthday?
Ryland's birthday.
Well, happy birthday.
In just, 2 days? Monday?
I think so. I think it's coming up.
She's going to be 9 years old?
Oh, my gosh.
Does that sound right?
I don't know. That sounds crazy. She's a piece of work. I'll tell you what. She's a great kid. Anyway, this is FedEx John's son. I must have been at an event or something, or I was just thinking of his son Spencer, but there's a Spencer version of it. So I'm thinking of real life. 12/12. There we go. 12/12, 5 years ago. Think vintage 1940s, 1950s ornaments for the palette. Start cool and gradually get warmer. So I'm thinking of the whole color mood of the book. So there's probably a very early drawing of tinsel, clearly inspired by the thing. So people have asked, how do you write your books? How do you come up with your stories? I want you to see how much of it is me trying to figure out the protagonist and the two main important parts right here. And this would be the Odyssey, big part of this book. So I'm starting now. I've kind of figured out what they kind of look like, but I'm not sure. Now I'm kind of thinking of a scene. How will he react? Things like that. Now I'm thinking of even bigger scenes. This scene never happens in the book, but it's thinking about story now. It's less about drawing a character and thinking all about story. Look, I'm even starting to storyboard, just getting a sense of what it would look like. Here's a breakdown. I do this all the time. Then it goes into writing. Boom. Boom. Lots and lots of writing. Lots and lots of writing. Sometimes the writing will be broken up. Okay, so in February, I discussed my new points with you, Ange. Start with a house fully decorated. Vignettes of all the items finished. I want to help decorate the tree, but Mom wanted it perfect. It's just like out of a magazine. Sent up to the attic to get bows, wrapping paper for presents before leaving for the party, discovers the ornament. Does any of that sound like the finished book? It does not.
Nope.
And you will find out why soon. So lots and lots of ideas, sketches. You can see I'm still trying to figure out tinsel. Now, while all this is going on, and this goes on, let's see where it ends. We've got some okay, so we're into May of that year. So to give you a bit of a timeline, it's been 5 months. Now, there's other things going on at this time. I'm not just working on this. But I was certainly it was occupying a lot of my mind. And we were also at this point beginning preparations for the Norman Rockwell exhibition. So I was dealing with that on top of all this. While that was going on, there was writing. Yes, I pulled this up. So there you go. So before I started this on November 30th, I did do some writing. Here's November 23rd, an early handwritten bunch of notes. Family, mom, dad, kid. They're all busy with independent lives. Yes.
Kevin Sylvester wants to know, is it typical to start adding details to the sketches as the world begins to fill in?
Yeah, sometimes those sketches are arbitrary. Sometimes they're just exploration. Here's a version of tinsel where maybe she had a squirrel tail. Here, she's got a little bit of holly leaves. You can see more versions of tinsel.
This is the choose your own adventure part.
This is it. And it can be overwhelming. Here's more scenes. Here's what would become Jack, doing things. Now, again, a lot of this probably looks very, very different. And I'll read just a tiny bit of the early so you can see how different it is. So this is just premise, just concept. Family, mom, dad, kid, all three are busy with independent lives, together but alone. Christmas comes, set up the tree, all new ornaments, perfect tree. Martha Stewart home. While decorating, the boy drops an ornament and gets scolded by parents. Kids feels bad, day ruined. However, he could swear he sees something, blah, 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 right? So this continues on, and wait for it. While it's continuing on, tinsel continues to be developed. Now, I focused on tinsel. If you guys have requests to see other aspects, I will certainly grab them from the drawer, but I just thought, just to give you an idea of how crazed I am with the character design. It is, if you've looked at a book that has the art of for a film, you'll see that this is very similar in approach. So here's an early version this is just trying to figure out tinsel. I knew tinsel was key. I'm going to zip through these really fast. Here's one that looked a little, here's the subconscious coming through, Ange, because I did this and you said that looks like the character from Inside Out.
Yeah. The head, especially.
The head.
Patrick Gibson. Will this video be available to watch after if we miss some or want to review it later? Yes.
Absolutely. We'll archive it right here and also on my YouTube channel. So here's this. Now, if you actually go back in the videos on Facebook, there are videos of me colorizing some of these early versions of tinsel. So here's one. I don't have a date on it, which is unlike me, but it made me think of this. Okay, so this one's June. So here you go. There's a sketch on June 7th, and then I was inspired enough to go right to doing a painting of it. So that's a later one. I want to say this one came before this one, Ange. This was the Mrs. Claus style one with the tinsely hair. But there are aspects that are going to come into the final one, and I'll show you what I mean, if I can get her.
I still like her little skirt there.
Yeah,
it's like an iced Christmas cookie.
Yes, I remember you. That was probably you that suggested that. So
no wonder I like it.
Yeah, of course. And then here we have...
Oh, and the jingly bell. But look at the bell shoes.
There's a final from the book.
I love seeing this because I'm like, what stuck?
What stayed? So the idea of the sheeny hair we loved. Here it was supposed to be like a silvery tinsel. And here it became pink. And then here it remained, right? The proportions are pretty much the same. The trick with her was to have her look like a little fairy, but not a doll. I didn't want her to be a doll. And every time you draw a giant head on a little body, it kind of looks like a doll. The color palette. Look at the colors for her 1940s style dress to the dress here.
Commander Wong says, how do you go about clothing reference?
Well, we looked at a lot of things. This was probably inspired from an actual ornament. I think I was starting to take colors off of old ornaments that we were buying, which I'm not going to bore you with by bringing all those out. You can see I really held on to the holly and the hair, but ultimately gave it up. It was too much, got rid of the antennas, you didn't need them.
Well, because we start thinking about, as you refine it, you're looking at like the silhouette.
Yes,
too.
yes. And I've got to draw this thing a lot.
Yeah.
But the bells remain. She had bells early on. They probably were Tinkerbell inspired, which Tinkerbell had more like puffs, but the bells held all the way through. I ended up putting them around her ankles, almost like a ballet flat that she has on.
And then, of course, this ends up informing the text in the story because at one point you reference
her bells.
That she, tinkled her bells on her toes. She tapped her tinkly bells.
That's what she's doing, yeah. So here's some other versions really quick just to show you how much exploration kind of went into it until I felt it was, quote, right. So this one's from February. These are not in any order. But it gives you a sense. Here's a Angela-inspired version.
She's cute.
And I pulled this one. Here's a Sophia-inspired version. So that's definitely Sophia at that age. Here's another one when we were, the idea of her being kind of spider-wickish, almost with the holly leaves and the holly leaves here and the mistletoe in her hair. So you can see thinking about all the things.
And this is a weird thing because when you're doing this and you're trying to decide on that design, you don't have any perspective. Here we are looking at this how many years later and you're like, oh wow, well this design worked and that design worked.
Yeah.
And that element worked. But when you're just in it, you're going with what excites you and kind of
feels right. And there's aspect, like if you look, that's pretty much her sleeves and that's her dress with the kind of shimmeriness. But it changed. No hat. I was set on this for a while, this version of her, where she was not at all those kind of doll-sized features. So this is a full year later. This is November of 2016. So we were pretty far into the development of the project. And I remember it wasn't Cyndi Lauper, but it was this kind of, I don't know who.
Looks like a Barbie.
Yeah, I didn't.
She looks like a gem. And the rock, or like Gem and the holograms.
Yeah, so you can see a lot of different explorations. Jack was also being explored at the time. I've got a few early Jacks here. He's not even named. Here he's just the kid. This is also from June of 2016. So he's dark-haired. He seems like a kid that doesn't care. But if you look at the color of the ornament, it's the same color as tinsel. Here's another Jack with a little more life in him. And the matching...
He looks cute. I remember when you did that.
Here,
one I liked.
yeah, same day. Here's another one. I don't know when I did this one, but this was a pen and ink. This was early on, but the Jack is closer to the final Jack, so I'm not sure where this one falls.
He looks like a real jerk there, doesn't
He's a total jerk, right? I mean, he's just totally not a great kid. This was also, should I do it in pen and ink and do watercolor? And the answer was resoundingly a no. I liked the softness of the line of the pencil here.
Aaron wants to know, did you ever find it difficult working on a Christmas-themed book during the summer months when there isn't as much holiday spirit near?
Yeah, I found it. We had a lot of, there was a lot of
Christmas
ornaments.
Music playing.
Yeah, I had Christmas music. We joked about.
A lot of eBay deliveries.
I won't pull it out, but I bought loads of people's Christmas photos off of eBay, like old antique black and white 1950s, 1930s, 1920s photos, and would look at those to get inspired. We joked about putting a Christmas tree up in the studio, but just felt like it wasn't, I was able to get into the zone. I think my real challenge was I had so much other stuff kind of going on. I needed to block out time to really have dedicated focus. And I did that actually, of all places, in Florida. So we went down to Florida at one point, and I spent the summer sketching out. I had come up with a manuscript. I'd spent the entire summer doing sketches.
Which is also hilarious because we had tons of deliveries of vintage ornaments being delivered down to Florida.
Down to Florida. That's right. That's right. This was all going on. So this is the summer. I'm guessing this is the summer of 16. Maybe the summer of 17. I don't know. I don't know if there's a date here. But bear with me. I'm going to share this with you. I've never really shared. I've shared photos of this. This is an entire year, 6 months basically worth of work. This is what I had a deadline. So Simon & Schuster knew what when they wanted it to come out. Obviously, you want it to come out in the fall to lead up into the Christmas. So from there, we work backwards to figure out what my deadlines are. Like, when do I need to have sketches in? When do I need to have the manuscript in? When do I need to have finished art in? So I spent a good part of this summer taking all these loose sketches that you've seen and now starting to put them into a script. This is the book dummy that I would have finished in August of, I believe, 2016. And you'll know why shortly. So I'm going to show this to you. Dear Santa, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I'm going to flip through it. I would love to have the best Christmas ever. Thank you. So this one is very different than the final book. This book dummy has mom with they're eating Thanksgiving. And if you couldn't figure that out, there's turkey. There's an homage to Rockwell. And mom has a holiday calendar with the entire breakdown. So this is a family of overachievers. This is what this whole concept is about. They think that more equals better. So here we have mom with a clipboard. Dad doesn't know what he's doing. That's kind of the look I get. And the boy, I don't even know if the boy has a name. He may be Jack, he may not. Here's their Christmas village. You've seen those little ceramic houses that light up, I'm sure.
Well, and we also live near the Yankee Candle flagship store. And there is a room in the Yankee Candle flagship store which is just filled with all of those Christmas villages. And It's pretty magical to walk in there and see everything lit up.
Yes.
All the tiny towns.
Yes.
Everything.
This was a sketch I was particularly proud of. Here's their house on their street. The Andersons, that's what they were called. Oh, no, the neighbors were called the Andersons. The Andersons invited us to go caroling, but there was no time for that. We had to put up the lawn decorations. And then
keeping up with the Joneses.
There's the Joneses. There is no Jones. They've just nuked the Joneses.
Exactly. They are the Joneses.
Look, there's the kid pulling out a light up snowman, but they're that house, Ange.
Yep.
They're that house, right?
It's probably set to music. It's choreographed.
Oh, yeah. Mom admired the largest of our Christmas trees. It looks just like a magazine, she said. So there you go. Right from the very early concept to here, we've executed it. There's 3 trees in their living room.
Super Martha. It was like the full-on Martha Stewart.
You can see the house. I actually had fun looking at over-the-top houses and people who really get into Christmas and really was in shock and admiration for how their level of commitment I really liked. So then Jack gets the old ornament, and he goes to hang it. He has to use a ladder to get to it.
He's just at a professional, Santa's Village place.
Yeah, pretty much.
Send him up on the ladder.
Now look, we're already having problems. The ornament looked like I had sparkly piece of Christmas candy. Then we changed it to dusty old piece of Christmas candy. That's kind of weird.
No, that's weird.
Can I hang it this year, Mom? She nodded. Just be careful and place it in my hand?
No, bad. Also bad.
So I think they had a family tradition was to hang the ornament. There's just one thing left to do because it ain't Christmas until we hang Grandma's ornament. We all chimed in.
Ah, good old Grandma's ornament.
So we know it's Grandma's ornament. That remains. And kid drops it. Mom's upset. You have a house full of everything. And,
Nice job, kid.
Way to go. That's what kids like to see in a book. And that.
I mean, come on. Isn't it great looking at this now? And you're like, what the?
So then here he is. He's in his room, and now Tinsel has showed up. I don't know if I flopped down on my bed, wishing there was a way to glue the ornament back together. Poof! A burst of glitter flashed in my eyes. At its center was a tiny figure. What? Who are you? I'm the best present you'll ever get, she said with a wink.
A burst of glitter flashed before my eyes.
Well, look, this is a first draft of text, so, it's in dire need of massive editing. Anyway, that's pretty much... That's pretty much my bedroom when I was a kid. So without the garland, but all the junk everywhere. For those who look for Easter eggs, there's an alien from Alien and Possums hiding there. That's kind of fun. Anyway, here's Proto Tinsel.
Okay, this was a good illustration. I like.
Yeah, I was looking forward to doing that one, and he has the collection of snow globes. I was really super excited about painting this one.
But this was the beginning of her voice.
Were you inside Grandma's ornament, I asked. You silly reindeer, I couldn't even fit my wardrobe in there. She landed on a snow globe. When Christmas spirit is lost, then I'm found. Like when I broke the ornament. So it's over-explaining.
But she's already, but even that.
So you're my fairy godmother?
Wardrobe in there, so you get the idea. I remember thinking she's like in Will and Grace. What's her name? That has the real high squeaky voice.
Catherine.
But,
no.
But that's who she kind of.
Yeah, you hear a voice in your head. And then godmother, you're my fairy godmother. Godmother, oh no, I don't do wands. So there are lines that make it all the way to the final book. So he's showing her the house and all the stuff. And he says he wants the best Christmas ever. My Christmas is ruined. Ruined, he says. Ruined. From his palace of privilege. It is ruined.
I have all my things and it's ruined.
I ruined it.
Wait, he's like, my Christmas is ruined. Why is it ruined, though?
Well, because he made his mom sad.
Yeah,
so now it's Christmas Eve. He runs down to see what the fairies brought him, which, another illustration. You talk about letting things go, and it is hard to let certain things go. That's an illustration that was hard to let go. Like that's.
Well, because this is a great page turn. And when you're like, what does he see? But we don't really see what we see.
Nothing. Everything is gone. Tinsel took all the things away. Kind of Grinchy in a way, now that I look back at it. It's very Grinch. The mom's freaking out. I love that he's wearing a ho-ho-ho shirt.
Kevin Sylvester says, amazing how this is almost a completely different book.
It is a completely different book. The story, this is the yeah, but again, it hadn't been edited.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they blame it on the neighbors. Every decoration was gone down to the last pine needle. Jiminy Christmas, Mom's voice startled me. We've been robbed. They even took the lawn ornaments, Dad blinked in shock. I bet it was the Andersons. I knew they were jealous. No, dear, Mom replied. The Andersons are traveling for the holidays. Soon Dad was on the phone with the police filing a missing decoration report.
Brindle Gargoyle called it. Why didn't it go back a page? Oh, well, you just figured it out. Why didn't they decorate the hallway?
They did. He just
Is it stolen? He missed that?
Yeah. Oh, look, there's Tinsel hiding, watching. She knows it's going to go well.
These are like storyboards, Alfonso.
They are like storyboards. Sophia actually posed for this. This is our stairwell in Florida. I remember this. She posed for it. I knew the fairy was behind this. I followed a glittery trail to the attic. This is my kind of, I love all this. So I'm building all this up so you guys can see how painful it was to just completely go back to square one. So then here he is.
I'm going to kill that fairy.
Yeah, that's the most accusatory finger it's like coming out of him. You did this to me. There's all the Halloween decorations and all the stuff. Then he gets into it with Tinsel. They argue. Tinsel leaves. He's left up in the attic feeling sorry for himself because he's really feels like he's messed up.
Well, he's probably like, oh, my stuff's gone and it's her fault.
Mom's favorite ornament was broken, a double-crossing fairy was on the loose, and all our decorations were gone. No decorations meant no holiday spirit. Santa would surely skip our house this year. I slept down against the dusty old clutter. At least that's what my mom called it. Clutter I can't bear to throw out. So Mom was kind of like a pack rat hoarder. So he goes through, starts looking at objects, and he finds memories. He finds all the old photos. He finds all the old things.
Wait, I love that his whole thing is like, oh man, all our stuff's gone. I'm not getting any presents.
That's it. The theme, but it's out of focus. Exactly. The theme is they thought if we have more, then we have more Christmas spirit, which means we're going to celebrate this holiday in a way beyond anybody else. So it was definitely a reflection of more equals better. That's really what it was. I was
focusing what his motivation was.
Well, right? We're going to get to that. We're going to get to his motivation and really what this story is really, this version of it is about. So Jack starts crafting, which he does in the final book, and he brings his parents down, and he had found an old tree from like the 50s and some records because they had a playlist. And so it's like the analog version of everything they once had. So
He's like, we don't need all that.
We don't need all that crap, right? So he gives his mom a photo to remind you of what matters most. Let me hit you over the head with the message. Bonk. So there you go. So here's mom when she was young. This moment still remains. Your most cherished gifts will always surround you. She's the mom with the ornament and the same tree. And then a nice page turn here. See that? You see that? And now here's her son holding in front of the same tree with a handmade ornament that he's made. And they've put the old train and the...
Did you feel, Kevin Sylvester, did you feel this version was too didactic?
No, because I knew we could have dialed that down. I knew we could have brought it down. This is trying to figure it out. I mean, it is part of the process. What I knew was, at the end, I knew it was... The ornament wasn't broken, the book was broken. There were elements, as I said, as I look at the pieces of it, there's pieces of it I love. I love that they decorated their tree with old photos and old toys. Like, that's really cool to me. I thought that was a neat tradition. I love that they had just as much love and Christmas spirit, and he, learned to give with less. I thought that was really powerful, but it still didn't sit right. Here he is. He's in bed at the end. This is kind of the final thing. Tinsel brings him a note, and it's a note from Santa. There you go. Santa, now, didactic. Some presents cannot be brought by me or made by elves. Some gifts, the best gifts, require little fairy magic. Merry Christmas. So, this version I knew was wrong. And I'll tell you how else I knew. I read it to Sophia, and she was like, it's good, Dad. I remember she was... It's good. It's good. She was not that impressed.
It's
and
good.
I remember reading it to family members, and they drifted off.
You know what it equates to me is when you're getting ready to go out, and you've been getting ready, and you're all dolled up, and you put on a great outfit, and you come downstairs, and you're like, how do I look? And somebody goes, you look fine.
You look, yeah, fine.
You're like, oh.
Fine. This is six to 8 months of my life working on this. So I couldn't, Ange and I had been working on it. She had heard every single step. She'd seen every single sketch. Clearly this is Angela probably going over the stuff with me, helping me start to edit in preparation to send it to the editor, my editor for this. Right before I sent it to my editor, as soon as we got back, made the deadline. A big lesson here.
Angel said, so we broke an ornament and unleashed a fairy Grinch that stole everything.
Fairy Grinch that stole everything, and parents who are probably now on eBay and Etsy buying all the old-timey stuff now instead of... So I could not see through the forest on this one, and I went and had lunch with Mo Willems. Now, Mo knew I'd been working on this book. We had just come off this book. So we were catching up and talking about things, and Mo was eager to see... my dummy.
I will also say that Mo is the master. As we all know from Elephant and Piggy, Knuffle Bunny, he's the master of boiling down emotion to its purest form.
And this is also when we say, like, people have, like, can you give me advice? Can you describe this book in 1 sentence or 2 sentences? And if you can't, you don't quite know what the story's about just yet. So Mo very quietly went through the whole book, read it all over lunch, closed the book, and said, do you want to know what I really think? And I said, absolutely. I know there's problems with it. I need to know what you really think. He goes, you have written a midlife crisis book.
The perfect midlife crisis.
The perfect midlife crisis.
The perfect holiday midlife crisis book.
He goes, because the hero is not the kid. The kid pretty much stays the same. He's just a catalyst. He just causes change. The hero, the people that change, are the parents, not the kid. So kids, he's like, that's not to say it won't sell. That's not to say nostalgia and things like that aren't popular and won't equal book sales or bestsellers. But he's like, I think you're after something deeper than this. And he goes, but really, the kid doesn't really change a whole lot. He doesn't really go through a big character arc as much as the parents kind of do from beginning to end. He learns and does things along the way, but he's mostly reacting to a situation. He's not very proactive. So what I did is I called my editor and I said, I want another year. And I want to do it all over again. Start from square one. And I was very, very fortunate that Simon & Schuster was very cool with it and said, if you feel like you need a year, and I said, I think I need a year.
I will say this. You do have a beta reader, Steve Berman, that you're very close with. Obviously, you share your work with me. We have some very trusted people that we share our work with. And everybody is going to have an opinion about it. But sometimes you hear a note that just really resonates with you. And sometimes you're working on something and you're like, I know something's not right, but I can't put my finger on it. And then someone says, this
and it
resonates.
And it hits you right in the heart, and you know.
What happened.
So there were a lot of darlings killed here, a lot of them, but there were aspects that were kept through. So a square one sketch. So the sketches are small. They're very loose. There's not a lot of detail. This is one of, I grabbed just one of these thumbnail layouts, but I want to say there's probably about a dozen of these where I'm storyboarding the book, and it's do-over, complete. Jack wanted this to be the best Christmas. Now we've changed it. It's not his family. It's not his parents. It's our hero. So now we're starting to figure out what this story's about. So this version here is pretty close to the final book, but there'll be a lot of notable changes. Here he is. You can see the parents kind of reacting. These are very small sketches. Some of them enhanced in Photoshop. You can see little digital work. So these sketches are small, probably not much bigger than what I'm showing you. Fast, and I'm doing loads of them from all different angles. So here's Jack. Instead of the box, he's pushing in the entire Christmas trunk. But then here's the box with the ornament. Here, Jack's holding it. It was a different thing. We'll talk about that particular illustration in a minute, but I knew it was going to be this kind of wordless or close to wordless spread where you have the light hitting and the ornament dropping. Very cinematic. Very similar sketch here to the final where Jack, look at all that look at all that writing. So much writing. The fairy coming out. Look at Tinsel. She's almost gone back to a proto because Tinsel changed. She was a different character now in this version. She was different than this Tinsel. And that's why her design started to change. So you can see it's very close to some of the finished stuff in the book. Here's
Once we start figuring out what Jack's motivation was, then it became clearer what Tinsel's purpose was.
Yes.
And that then affected her design.
Jack's still kind of jerky here. Look at him. Fix it. I want a new ornament. He's still kind of a... Here it is. This sketch is so close. I gotta pause for a second, Ange. This sketch is so close to the final. I mean, I really used it as a roadmap. And it also happens to be one of my favorite illustrations. So here's the illustration. I don't know how I got fortunate enough to turn right to the page, but this is one of my favorite illustrations in the book. So Jack's looking in the gingerbread house. This is like the time capsule that's going to show him how his mom got the ornament. And then here's the sketch, and you can see it's very close in construction.
Grimnall,
Looking inside.
I love those reindeer too, Grimnall.
Holding on to the old original one, you can see the old tree, but the math didn't line up now. This was a catch later that if the mom was a modern day mom, they wouldn't have a 1950s tinsel tree. They would have an 80s tree. The mom was probably a little girl in the 80s, so we changed it to an 80s. Originally, when Jack was crafting, they were all there. They were all here. This is a different ending.
So we know timeline-wise, you had to figure that out. How old is Jack? How old is his mother?
Right.
When does this take place? How old is Grandma? If Grandma is this specific age when she was toward the end of her life, what is her house decorated with?
Well, that actually goes, there was a lot of homework I did on this. I had to do the math because these ornaments, these mercury glass ornaments, the one he breaks, came to the country, into America. I looked up the entire history of Christmas in America and ornaments, and these ornaments came out of Germany or Russia, and the earliest ones would have been brought by immigrants at the turn of the century, Ange, and that's how a lot of them would have come. So Grandma tells her, Jack's great-grandma, I've had him since I was your age, so the math would line up generationally. That, how old was Grandma? Was she, she's probably or late 70s, early 80s. She's probably 80 in this. You know what I mean? So if she was 6 or 7 when she got him, you can do the math and go back in time. But this is very much meant to be a very 1980s, as also evidenced by the color of Mom's. She's wearing purple on pink with the thing. So we really want it to feel very 80s. I'll zip through. So the ending here, I didn't even bother it because the ending wasn't even done. I had this great image of this tiny little present. You can just see this sweep of stuff, but it didn't work. you know? So this is a snapshot of it being figured out, but I knew at that point we were on the right track, Ange. I remember that. It was just finding it, and it's really a slog. I don't know what else to say. As you go along, there were things happening at the same time. Here's some of the finished designs of tinsel. I'm not going to bore you with every single one, but you know, at this point, I just want you to see how many sketches. That's just pretty much almost the finished tinsel. So these are all pretty close to tinsel. There's a doll one, so I hated that. Like, I love that, but the sketch next to it was no good. So you can see how I was keeping certain aspects of it. Okay, so the math does line up, Ange. See, these are all from 2017. So this would have been, I would have worked on it all through 2017 to get it done in time. I think I handed it in early 2018. I think all the artwork was due in early 2018 so that the book could get out in time for the fall. And that was rushing it.
Joel Suzanne Shipman, were you, in the rewrite, were you juggling projects or dedicated solely to this one?
At that point, it was crashing into all the work that was required for the Norman Rockwell opening. So this is our friend Amy, who was a dancer, Broadway dancer. Lori. Sorry, yeah, I'm brain farting. Lori was a Broadway dancer, lives here, and Lori is the embodiment of tinsel. She's high energy, sparkly, glittery, so awesome. And she came down, and we just shot a lot of reference photos of Lori, so that I could have these just as inspiration, really. That's all it really is, just so I could have inspiration while I was drawing tinsel and also get the musculature of her arms and her legs.
And the actual position.
Yeah, for all of that stuff. So, like, look at the feet there. It's so terrific.
The way she holds her hands.
The way she held her hands. And that, absolutely, I mean, I've got one finished, but you can see it, the musculature in Tinsel's arms and legs. The strength in her body definitely comes through from the reference photos that we took with Lori. So there was a lot of that going on at the same time while these rewrites and these changes are being made. And we're closing in on it, Ange. I'm getting closer and closer to the final bits. So here, almost a year later, I want to say, I think in the summer of 2017, I handed in another book dummy. Now, this book dummy went to final book dummy, what I call final. I make usually 2 of these.
These are pretty detailed dummies. If you are a person that is making a book, do not be intimidated by the quality of Tony's dummies, because this is very, very detailed.
I save the cardboard for my art pads, and I glue the stuff to it. I use packing tape, and I make a spine. None of it is final, but it's so that the book feels like a book as you're flipping through it. Now, the pages are loose because if we make edits, I can take the page out and just replace a page if we don't like it. So this is the final book dummy for the Broken Ornament. You can see it has the to and from, which we kept. I think I just grabbed these graphics from the internet, but I knew I was going to make
wrapping paper.
Yeah, I was going to make vintage wrapping paper. So whammo, here you go. So here's the title page. The logo has yet to be finalized. So this is an early version of the logo, which we ultimately changed. And it's great because it's still got the notes. So these would have come from the art director, the editor, and anybody else. So add lawn decorations and Jack's door should be open, which we did. So let me see if I can do this. My desk's on an angle, so I don't want to see if I can keep it off.
Angel, I love it, overachiever.
Yeah, when it comes to this, I am. So you can see the sketches are pretty tight, and there's tone added so that I can start to figure out exactly. Now, this is, yes, as Ange pointed out, this is far beyond the average book dummy. However, what I have found in my experience is that if I create these really tight book dummies, it's work I'm going to have to do anyway. I'm just doing it earlier on. And it allows the publisher to really get other departments like marketing and sales can look at this and they have a pretty good vision of what the final book's going to look like. So this is kind of just a way to, figure it out. I would have had to do all this anyway, so it's just putting it in the dummy.
Hernan Kowalski says, do you get the feeling that you need to overcraft these to show how much effort you did because you fear it will not be properly transmitted otherwise? Like, are you showing this to the publisher to show them what you want it to look like?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But also, I think it's knowing, I've been doing this now for 20 years. People who know me, I've said this. I feel like I have to bleed for some reason when I do that. Like, I really feel like I have to put myself to the ground. I like challenging myself. There was a lot of challenges put forth in this book, and every book I do. But for this particular one, I really felt like I put myself through the grinder. I felt like there was a lot. I had a show at the Rockwell. I felt like I needed to really do this at a level beyond anything I'd ever done before. I was looking at a lot of animation at the time. I think it's evident in this stuff. So there's a kind of this, I'm thinking about movement. So you can kind of see the movement, like a ball bouncing. Yeah. This sketch is one of my favorite spreads in the book. And the reason it is because it's missing the background. Now, you saw in the old sketch, it had a background, and boy, oh boy, did I work on that entire background, and I could not get it to work for the life of me. I had a window here, I had the light rays falling, and there was just so much going on. You did not see this little ball ornament falling. I was really frustrated. I brought Angela up to show it to her. Now, I had constructed it in Photoshop on layers, so this tree is on a layer, Jack's on a layer, the parents are on a layer, and then all the background and the lighting is on a layer.
You came down to look at it because you had
really
Photoshop in your computer.
So I'm clicking the layers off and on, and Ange goes, "Stop. Don't turn on the background." So it looked just like this in the computer, and she goes, "That's your spread." And I was like, no, it's weird. Like every other image has a background. And she's like, "No, it looks like it's a frozen moment in time."
But also show them the left page, because that line is like a record scratch, but Jack didn't listen. And so it's like, everything stops. You're freezing what happens in that very moment, because what happens right now is the catalyst, essentially, for the entire book.
Yes.
Right?
Yep. I will add the inspirations for the parents were my grandparents. My dad, my grandfather, DiTerlizzi, who was first generation from Italy, and my grandmother, Mary, who was first generation Irish. So those were the inspirations for the parents. I was thinking of them while I was working on this. I'm going to zip through this dummy, but it's for the most part pretty close to the final book. You can see a lot of tonal sketches figuring out. Jack's expressions aren't quite right, but boy, oh boy, like here with tinsel, you can see it's pretty close, dead ringer, to the final version in the book. Some things I hadn't quite figured out yet, like tinsel makes it snow in the house, and this looked a little strange to me. Also, we got rid of the old-timey grandfather clock. I remember that. It was like one of the notes.
This is where you start to get the feel, though, that it's got this almost Jumanji-esque unleashing that's about to happen. Explore different ways the snow falls. So there's a note from somebody so there you can see how we tried to figure it out. There's the 2-page spread. Now it's almost like solving a puzzle here, right, Angela? Like I feel like, oh my God, I figured out, we know what the book is going to look like, and then the daunting task of it literally creating all the artwork begins. Well, and designing every single character that now is going to be unleashed in this world. Yep. And then you would also reference, you're like, do I look at a Pottery Barn catalog? Right. Am I looking at Restoration Hardware? What their house with? Yeah. What period are they decorating in? Here's a great comparison. So we got the Saint-Azels, which I had designed very, very carefully and took pride in all their design. And look at them, they're just standing there. And in the final, if you know the book, you will see. There you go. So there's the difference between a book dummy and the final. So here they're actually doing something. So have them doing something, and you can hear them singing. You can hear the little sleigh bells ringing or whatever they're singing, but the idea of them caroling, and here they're just standing around like a bump on a log. This is one of my favorite spreads. It feels so cinematic to me, and I just love the ideas. Like you can feel the whoosh of the door opening, the wind pouring in, and then just all of, the creatures and the nutcrackers and everything come marching and blowing in. I love it. Let's talk about this next spread. This was a really tough. So there's a lot of challenges here. We didn't even talk about the fact that I treated it very Sendakian in that the whole thing was like a stage. I treated the house like a stage.
That's what I wanted. And that's how Maurice Sendak treated a lot of his picture books. If you look at Outside Over There, or even Where the Wild Things Are, usually you're sitting in an audience with think of your head like right where my knuckle is, and you're watching this on a stage, because Sendak went to the stage a lot. And I really like the idea of that. This particular illustration was one of the toughest I've ever done in my life. And I consulted with Donato Giancola, who's a fantasy illustrator, and a very dear friend. And Donato excels at paintings of battle scenes. He's done them for Tolkien. He's done them for George R.R. Martin and Game of Thrones. And so I needed to figure out how do we come to a successful battle scene? And he had this incredible advice. Let me see if I can pull the sketch up on this, Ange. I think I had it mostly figured. Yeah, I must have had the conversation with him by the time I got to the dummy.
Connor Wong was asking, is that Arthur Spiderwick in the background? In that
yes, there's a bunch of Connor. There's a bunch of Easter eggs on that page. I'll show you. I love putting Easter eggs in my books, and the Broken Ornament has a load of them in it. But yes, there's Arthur Spiderwick in the stairwell. That is one of Sophia's, our daughter's birthday invitations when I used to do those. That's Jimmy Zangwow, so a really old fan would know that from my website, early website. And you don't see much of it. That's the silhouette of Mary Howitt, who wrote The Spider and the Fly. So that's that. So Donato's advice was to think of these things as shapes and forms, really. So you've got a shape here and a round shape here, and then it scoops. And then these guys form like a shape, a big mountainous shape. And then you have repetition and things like that. So he was able to help me understand it, get my head around.
Somebody spotted the baseball player snowman, and that was your reference exactly.
Yes, I didn't pull that out. I was really into it, but I drew a ton of baseball pitchers, from little league kids to major league players from all different angles. But thank you for noticing that. But Jack is definitely referenced from a little league player, and I had a blast. Everything, like if you look at the spin and the twist of this snowman lobbing the snowball right at the viewer, that is definitely only achieved by looking at baseball pitchers. So here we go. I'm just looking to see actually at this point, Ange, if there's any difference in it. And it looks all pretty much the same. I think we flipped this one.
And the thing is, we love the holidays so much, obviously, and we love any vintage holiday ornaments. We love all that stuff. So even you got a chance to do things like, you're just like, what do I love to draw?
Yeah.
What do I want to paint? What am I excited to do? The gingerbread house. That became a thing. He could have looked inside anything. He could have looked in a snow globe. He could have looked in, it isn't just one answer to these questions.
Yeah.
But we pictured, what would they have around their house? Oh, they would have, their family would have decorated the gingerbread house.
Yep.
That would be the little window into the world.
And I love Frosty the Snowman. We actually talked about me illustrating Frosty the Snowman at one point. And so I think that all came through in here. Here's the ornaments. They're more 1950s ornaments, so I got the ornaments wrong here. They're not the turn of the century ones, so the timeline's messed up. And this is also the timeline. Now, there's a couple other interesting things in this illustration where Grandma... So this grandma is based on my grandma when my grandma was alive. Definitely, I'm thinking of her when I'm drawing this. There's the 1950s or old-timey tree. So they're talking, the notes, this is Angela's handwriting, a full skirt on Mom, reference clothing and the pajamas, and great-grandma's hair. The other thing I wanted was, I thought of, near the end of my grandma's life and your grandpa's life, I remember... their side tables would often have prescriptions for medications and stuff. And I just felt like it was a nice observation, and it also showed her age and her frailty. And you and several people
I felt
really rallied.
Strongly to not have the medications. I felt like what you were trying to say, I remember T saying, she's close to the end kind of thing.
Like it's her last Christmas. That's why.
Yeah, but we get that. She's in the chair. She's got the Afghan on her lap. You can see she's elderly. And I felt it instinctually. We didn't need it.
Yeah.
And then I remember you showed this demo to Jeannie Birdsall, who...
from the Penderwicks.
National Book Award-winning author of the Penderwicks.
Yes.
And she did not have many critiques of this story, but she was like, get rid of the pill bottles!
So Grandma's pill bottles went away, and I was on my way. So here's a final Let's do a little compare and contrast of Grandma. I found other ways to make her, I showed that her eyesight was going, which, my eyesight's going. So it's essentially the same woman. I changed the sweater. I'm not sure why I changed the sweater. Maybe I think I was looking at vintage clothing and stuff. So okay, so quick trivia bit. When I looked at, I literally start off with Google's like Grandma. Like, just what does Google Images tell me about Grandma?
Grandmas.
Then I've read this article about that older people, and this is just a generalization, will often wear a hairstyle similar to from their youth. So she has a 1940s kind of hairstyle going on, which is kind of evident there in the sketch too. But I thought that was pretty cool. So we changed the tree, made it a 1980s tree. We wood paneled it.
You looked at the Sears wish book. You're like, what kind of nightgown would Mom be wearing?
Yes, all the things.
When she was a kid.
Yeah, because the Afghan would have been like a 60s, 70s thing. But so you have the accumulation of time there. And we got rid of we replaced that. We put a walking. We put a cane instead of.
That was it.
Grandma's hip medication.
It felt frail without feeling sickly.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
It felt a little.
So there you go. There's Jack. A little for fellow artists. There's some nice, if I say so myself, compositional things going on. So everything's pointing at Jack. So he's pointing at Jack. He's pointing at Jack. All these lines, all the eyes, but also the movement. Everything is pointed to Jack here. Here's Jack doing Charlie Brown Christmas. So it's like my little homage to Charlie Brown where he's got the tongue out, like writing the Dear Santa. I mean, there's so much stuff now meshed into it. One of my favorite illustrations in the book is this simple one where he's giving. I just wanted to show in the simplest way, how do you, the act of giving and receiving.
And somebody mentioned the matching PJs. That's something we usually get every year.
Yes.
So
they had matching sweaters early on in the book, and they have matching PJs here. So they're a family that loves celebrating Christmas, but we've just dialed it way down. Then here's of course, the ornament Jack makes. So Jack had no idea the history of the ornament. So when he makes the new ornament, he makes the one that captures the memory for his mom. We ended up flipping this because this is pushing you back this way into the book, right? So if you get to this right page, the recto, it's pushing you back into the verso side of the book. So we don't want that, so we end up mirror flipping it so that you want to turn the page going this way. So that was just a simple fix. And then the big finale where Santa shows up. So that was the whole thing, was to hold on Santa all the way to the very end, and with the whole crew, that Santa did arrive once Jack learned to give and gathered the joy of giving, that the joy of giving was the thing that brought out the spirit of Santa Claus. We ended up moving Santa. We put him a little more in the center of the illustration. He's more here. He is inspired. Santa was a whole nother story, and we'll save that for next time, because I'm sure I've gone a little long. But Santa, I did a lot of sketches on the Santa, and also did a deep dive on the history of Santa, especially in the United States, and how he's depicted. I've settled on the Thomas Nast version of Santa, which is, Thomas Nast was a cartoonist at the turn of the century, and if you look up his Santas, it's pretty much, he kind of starts to define it. But the thing I loved about the Thomas Nast Santa, Ange, was he was small, he was elfin, and I loved that. I always thought that was really cool. It wasn't until the 1950s that Santa became huge, when he started selling Coca-Cola. The other thing I liked was the Thomas Nast Santa, and my Santa was dirty, sooty, from going in and out of the chimneys all night. I thought that was kind of cool, that Santa would be kind of dirty. And instead of his pipe, because I didn't want him smoking, we had him chewing on a candy cane. There are more Easter eggs here. There's Ted, a stuffed Ted doll. Kenny and the Dragon, because we would have been at the early stages of Kenny and the Book of Beasts, so I had Kenny and the Dragon on my mind. And this is a ravenous rotoid from G is for One Gazonk. So that's a pretty obscure Easter egg here. And there it is, the story of the Broken Ornament. And now, when you guys see this dedication, you realize where it came from. And there it is.
all began with a broken ornament.
And it all began... I can't even find it, Ange. Anyway, I want to make sure I got everything. But yes, how this became this.
What's underneath the dust jacket? Remind me.
A good last bit of information. We never got into the actual painting. I'm realizing this is taped right here next to my thing to remind me. I never did this, but before I show you the dust jacket, the characters were so complicated. I had to write down the recipe to paint for every single one. It was just so complicated for me. What is under the dust jacket, Ange, is, I've got it taped here so it won't come off, is actually the original dust jacket. This was the original cover for the book.
I still think we should have gone with this.
I liked it a lot more. I thought it was cleaner. I thought you could see it. I thought it said a lot. I felt like this cover was busier. However, it didn't get received as well when it was kind of tested out on the sales force. When Simon Schuster took it out, certain stores and certain chain stores didn't care for this cover as much as this cover.
So I remember the note was, we'll go back to the under the jacket there, was seeing a fairy, which, oh man, I mean, I could see the effects on that. That should have been spat lamb with embossed.
Well, I have it. I think I have. This was really late in the game. I have a finished version of this cover.
Spot lamb on her.
I think the F&Gs, the fold and gathers.
It could have been total foil. I mean, come on, this should have been...
It was.
When we do the anniversary edition.
We'll go back to this.
We're going back to this.
This happens, and that would be a great. We should do that for one of the future streamings. Is talk about covers. This is the most complicated and frankly for me the toughest stage of making any book is the cover because so many people have to weigh in and give their thoughts, and there are times I feel like I've made the right decision with covers, and there's times I've regretted some of the cover designs that I've done. This one, unfortunately, I had to go with, I hadn't done a picture book in over 10 years, so I went with the team and what they felt was this cover. And I remember I had to put this cover together fast, really fast.
Yeah.
And in the end, it looks good, all things considered, but that was the cover I wanted. That was the cover I wanted.
But, you know, when somebody says they're going to take a lot of copies of books, sometimes...
That's the reality of it.
That's the part in the movie where you're like, okay, you chip off a little piece of yourself.
A little piece of your soul. The Norman Rockwell exhibition was chugging along at that time. I made a crazy installation where I did a mobile, and we had hundreds of DiTerlizzi fairies hanging, and I had them printed on this plastic. And there were all kinds of fairies from Spiderwick. There was a sprite from the Dungeons & Dragons game. And hidden in there was one tinsel printed on this heavy plastic. She has a little hole punch where she would have been hung. So I want to include her in our junk pot today, Ange. So this gives you an idea. It's like a nice little piece of memorabilia going along. I'd also love to send somebody a copy of the Broken Ornament, as well as some other Broken Ornament goodies. So if you want to pick our junk pot winner, and if you guys get a chance, you can leave it in the comments, or you can send me an email directly on Facebook, on Messenger. Tell me if you liked this idea. I didn't draw for you guys today. We answered a few questions, but not a lot of questions. I'm sure you have more questions. But, it's something I absolutely loved doing, this kind of peeling away the layers of how the story behind a story and what goes into making a book. It's like my favorite things that I like watching, how they made movies, how they recorded albums, all that kind of stuff. But let me know if you're into it. If you weren't, if you'd rather see me draw, then let me know. Anyway, before we go, Ange, why don't you pick our junk pot winner for today, who's going to win a signed copy of the Broken Ornament. I'll sign it to whoever you'd like. A tinsel ornament from the Norman Rockwell exhibition, and like I said, I'll throw in some other swag from the Broken Ornament that we have.
All right.
Are you ready?
I think yes. I think.
All right. Let me get you your drum roll. Ready?
Yeah, I think so. Today's winner of the junk pot is Connor Wong.
Connor Wong, congratulations. Thank you for listening and hanging in there. I just saw Connor's name zip by. You guys are awesome.
Oh, Jill Suzanne Shipman asked for some homework.
Oh, well, Ange, I'm going to leave that up to you. You did
Oh.
such a good job doing it. Now, we're getting close to the holidays, so I don't know if you guys are
I want to do
feeling...
something holiday oriented.
Again?
Oh, don't you think? We are close.
We're close.
Oh gosh, I don't know. We did do What about winter? Something wintry that's not. What do you think? Or
Part of the genesis of this was a Christmas card. Design your own Christmas card. Or holiday card. We're going through Hanukkah's going on right now.
something inspired by your favorite holiday memory? Maybe something like that.
Wow. Yeah. There's a lot of great holiday cards out there, but I bet you've walked into a store and went, that's it. I could draw a better card. Show us what that card is. Let's see your best holiday card. Could be for Hanukkah, could be for Christmas, could be just for the winter solstice, could be for just a new year. I think we're all counting down the days to 21.
Absolutely.
Just like when you're a kid and you're counting down the days to 21.
Said, do you think you'll revisit Tinsel's world in future books?
I don't know about that. I feel like, I don't know.
Time will tell.
Time will tell, Gage. Time will tell. I never thought I'd get to do that sequel to Kenny, and there we are. It's made. You may have kids of your own, Gage, and I may be even close to a geezer by the time I get to it, but you never know.
You know what? DIY your holiday greeting that you can then share on your own stuff with everyone else that you want to extend your holiday wishes to.
I like that. I like that.
I like that a lot.
You guys are terrific. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Congratulations, Connor.
Congratulations, Connor. Please send me an email, Connor, with your mailing address so I can get it to you. I'll try to send it out this week. And let us know what you guys think. If you enjoyed it or not, we'll do it again.
This is not a commercial for this, but I know that the Eric Carle Museum of Picture Book Art and the Odyssey Bookshop, I think, have this book in stock, if I'm not mistaken.
They have. I don't know. I know I've signed copies for them.
I don't think they have it anymore.
I don't know if they have it, and I don't know if they're getting books to people in time now. I know we're getting close to the time, but I do know that Amazon had it on sale this month.
It was
so
like $8.99.
It was really, really affordable, and they'll get it to you.
If you need it last minute. Otherwise, contact your local independent.
Yep. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much. I had a terrific time. Stay safe, stay well, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you, guys. Happy holidays.